Yo, what is up, everybody, and welcome back. We had round one of the NFL draft, and today I got my grades. Now, are they the most well thought out things? No. If you know me, that's not a shocker. I'm not the most well thought out person. But I have my initial grades, I think is what, the professionals call these, as opposed to not well thought out. Um, Now, a lot of it is just the gut reaction. Now, you may see some inconsistencies. Like I give one pick a higher grade, even though like something similar happened later in the draft, and that one gets a lower grade. It's a gut reaction, just how I feel about the player, how I feel with their fit on the team, and I guarantee you over half of these are going to be wrong. I will also say I'm a little bit generous with my grading, which is why I would not be a good teacher to call it good enough. Um, but yeah, I gave 33 grades. If you want to find out what that 33rd one is, I was gonna say like you're gonna have to stay and watch, but you'll just fast forward to the end and you'll see it. Yeah, I found it funny, so I added a grade for him. But yeah, we'll start off top of the board. Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams, you get an A. Best player available, but biggest question to me, for some reason he seemed like he wanted to be a Chicago Bear, so we might need to get questions, more off-field questions than we initially anticipated. So no, I'm kidding. Caleb Williams, very talented player. You get an A, Chicago. Washington Commanders, Jay Daniels. I gave him a B plus. I understand we kind of knew this was going to be the pick. I still don't think it was the right one. I think Drake May was well ahead of Jaden Daniels, in my opinion. Yes, there are problems with Drake May. The draft, like, you don't lose these players after next year. Like, you have these players for their careers if you do it right. And yeah, I think Drake May has a higher ceiling than Jaden Daniels does. So I would have gone Drake May at number 2. Still a very good player, a very good pick. I like Jaden Daniels. I gotta penalize the earlier picks a little bit more, in if I think they're wrong. And this one I would have gone Drake May. Speaking of which, New England Patriots get an A plus. They didn't overthink it. I am a Patriots fan. You can see the Boston in the background there. They didn't overthink it, which was a lot of our concerns as fans. Was they're going to overthink it, trade down, or take Marvin Harrison Jr., hope they can trade back up. They didn't overthink it. They took their quarterback, and I am more than happy to have Drake May as our potential QB1. Granted, I was also more than happy to have Mac Jones as our QB1. So we'll see. Hopefully this one ends up a little bit better. At number 4, the Arizona Cardinals, you get an A plus. Same thing. You stayed put. I'm sure they got unbelievable trade offers for Marvin Harrison Jr., but just take him. I was like, he's exactly what you need. Great pick for the Cardinals there. They get an A plus. Chargers with the worst grade so far. I'm giving them a B for the pick of Joe Alt. This is my first surprise pick of the draft after their free agency, trading Keenan Allen. I thought 100% this was going to be a wide receiver, specifically Malik Neighbors. Before they traded Keenan Allen, I thought, well, it could be Neighbors, could be a tight end, and I understand the pick of Joe Alt. When Quentin Johnston's your best receiver, I would have preferred to go with Malik Neighbors there. But Malik Neighbors at 6 for the Giants. I gave an A. This is one I just felt like would have given out a few too many A pluses. Kind of wanted to hold it. I think the Giants played it perfectly. They did everything you needed them. They did everything right. And in the end they made the right decision not moving up. Could they have potentially have traded down with somebody? Maybe. But I don't know. I gave them an A. That's one you could say, oh, gave Marvin Harrison an A plus, gave Malik Neighbors an A plus. Make your own video. That's my comeback to that. Tennessee Titans now taking the spot of the worst grade with a C plus, and because they needed offensive tackle at 100%, and I feel like they were almost certain Joe Alt was going to be there at 7 for him. And then all of a sudden he wasn't, which I'm sure they had a backup plan, but I think they liked the idea of the versatility that Joe Alt gives you as a pass and run blocker. So then they just said, well, Latham, now I'm going to include him in these top 3 offensive tackle prospects. He wasn't going into it for me. Is the most versatile, as opposed to Olu Fashanu, who's a bit more of a pass blocker, and Talise Fuaga, who's more of a run blocker. Latham's a little bit of both. I like Latham. I just think this was a bit rich in my opinion. So the Titans get a C plus. And with the permanent worst grade of the NFL draft, at least round one, that belongs to the Atlanta Falcons, to no one's surprise. And so no, well, yes, the thumbnail was technically clickbait because I gave him an F in the thumbnail. In all honesty, it is an F minus. All right, you pissed off your new franchise. Like you signed Kirk Cousins to a pretty lengthy deal of a lot of money, and now you're drafting the worst quarterback, like the most pro ready quarterback. Obviously, going to take some time, anyways. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I think if you were going to pick a quarterback here, it had to have been J.J. McCarthy for me to even consider it being decent. Because McCarthy, the youngest, the most moldable, would have been okay. Kirk Cousins still probably would have been pissed. And that's the biggest issue with this pick is now you pissed off Kirk Cousins. And I don't feel good about it. I was like, Kirk Cousins still is going to go out there play his best football. But in my opinion, you kind of wasted a pick here on Michael Penix. It's no disrespect to Michael Penix. It's not. He's just not a top 10 player in this draft. Not even close, in my opinion. I barely even had him going in the end of first rounds. I just think this was an absolutely horrible pick. Now, could it come back to bite me in the butt? Yeah, but I feel pretty confident Michael Penix will not be a stud quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. Could be somewhere else after they get rid of him in 2 years, like Trey Lance. But yeah, no, that one I question a lot of it. But hey, we bounce back. Pick number 9, Rome Odunze gets an A- for the Chicago Bears. With the addition of Keenan Allen, would have thought maybe you look on the defensive side of the ball. But I understand you got Caleb Williams. You have to give him all the help you need. You saw it happen with Justin Fields. Get this guy help. And they do. I was like, Rome Odunze, still an A-. Would have preferred like a Dallas Turner, Laiatu Latu, or Jared Verse personally. But hey, no problems with Rome Odunze. Minnesota Vikings trading up to number 10. J.J. McCarthy, I'll give it an A-. I still have J.J. McCarthy as a prospect. I like the idea of multiple. I like the idea of putting him with Kevin McConnell. Still some issues with him, but I can't really penalize the pick. They needed a quarterback. I think he would be the best one. Him and Bo Nix is an interesting conversation. My biggest concern is maybe they didn't need to trade up. I understand being safe and doing it anyways when you have Denver right there. But I think with the two, you're guaranteed either J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix, so I would have stayed put, saved some draft capital, which they now only have 8 picks in the next 2 years, but we'll get to that a little later on. The Jets, I give them a B+ for Olu Fashanu. It's tough using a first-round pick, especially a top 11 pick, on a guy that's not going to start. Especially when you have someone who's as high caliber as Brock Bowers still on the board, who would help you win now. Like in the next 2 years, he will be in the conversations for one of the best tight ends in football. So that one's a little tough for me to wrap my head around. I do like, in the long term, Olu Fashanu should be perfect for the Jets. He's a great pass blocker. And then with injury questions to Tyron Smith, it's fine. It's a very good pick. It's just tough to wrap the head around taking a guy who's not going to start when there's a guy who would 100% start still available. The Broncos, speaking of starting, Bo Nix, I'm curious if he starts week 1. I would think so when your competition's Zach Wilson, but you never know. I do think Sean Payton loves him. And I think he is a good fit for the Broncos because he kind of plays that play style that Peyton likes, but he's still young enough that he has plenty of years to develop still. Like, he's on the older end of prospects. He can still develop. Like, the development from Auburn to Oregon was impressive. He can still take another step. I don't think he'll ever be top 5 in the NFL, but he will be a very solid quarterback for the Broncos. The Raiders, probably the only team that wouldn't get an A+ for drafting Brock Bowers. I gave them an A. Solely because I like Michael Meyer, and I think they would have benefited more from drafting Taliesin Fuaga. But still, it's Brock Bowers. At the end of the day, you take Brock Bowers, you get an A. That's just how it works. So Brock Bowers an A for the Raiders. The Saints, Taliesin Fuaga, they get an A as well. Believe me, I love hating on the Saints. It's one of my favorite things to do. But this about as good as they can get. They stayed pat. Would have been interesting to see if they could find a trade down spot, but again, that's just hypotheticals. They get an A for Fuaga. Fits nice. Would have liked Latham here, or more of a better pass protector. But Fuaga, as a run guy, best offensive tackle available. No problems at all. Latu for the Indianapolis Colts. I gave him a B+. Latu was my edge 3. But realistically, 1C even, if not 2A at the worst. I personally would have liked Quinion Mitchell here. I do think the Colts typically do overperform their talent at cornerback, so I understand taking edge. Latu is a fantastic player. B+ is no disrespect at all. And I think he's going to thrive in Indianapolis. I really do. But I also think Quinion Mitchell could have been a match made in heaven for the Colts. So I give him B+, but I have no issues with a higher grade there. The Seahawks, Byron Murphy II. Again, I went with the B+ here. It's an unbelievable interior. You get Leonard Williams with Byron Murphy. That's unbelievable, like for the long term. I think I would have preferred Dallas Turner or Jared Verse over him. But I do believe going into it, Byron Murphy was Seattle's guy. So if they had a chance to take him, someone would have had to fall drastically. I don't even know who that would have been for the Seahawks not to take Byron Murphy here. So they get a B+. Not my ideal prospect for him, but it again, no problems. Murphy's an unbelievable player. The Vikings, here are the big issues with the Vikings. I gave him a C- for the pick. And this is nothing against Dallas Turner. Nothing at all. In fact, Dallas Turner is the reason it's not an F or F-. If J.J. McCarthy is not it, like if this offense doesn't work, the easiest solution for the Vikings to get out of to improve themselves might be having to trade Justin Jefferson. And that's just not something that you would want to do. They have 8 picks for the next 2 years. And then I think next year it's a first, and then their next one's a 5th. I think this year their next pick is not until the 4th round. I don't understand the reason for trading up. I get Dallas Turner's an amazing player. You signed some Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard. You would be okay at defensive end and just stay pat. I get Dallas Turner is an amazing player. He was my edge 1. Stay pat. Save your picks. There is a lot of value in the middle to back ends of this draft. All right, there's so much more talent now than there has been in years past. Stay put, and that'll help you if your offense needs work. If you need draft capital to move on from J.J. McCarthy for whatever reason, I was like, you stay pat, save your picks. But what do I know? I'm a kid in the closet. That could be taken out of context. That's moving on. Bengals at 18, Amarius Mims, B+. I would have thought similarly to the Jets that with an offensive tackle addition, they look somewhere else like a Jared Verse to potentially replace Trey Hendrickson, or even just to pair next to Trey Hendrickson. But again, like the Jets, offensive tackle is always valued, so I gave it a B+ here. And Mims, 100% if he stays healthy and develops well, could be an absolute beast of an offensive tackle. Great for Joe Burrow there. The Rams, I thought they nailed it. A+ for Jared Verse. In the post-Aaron Donald era, defensive line for the Rams is still very good. Headlined by second-year player now, Kobe Turner. I like Bobby Brown, and now you add Jared Verse. I was like, this is a very solid unit. I would have loved if Aaron Donald was still here, but without him, I think the Rams still have a very nice defensive line. Probably, well, with the Seahawks edition, still might be third in the West, but still ahead of the Cardinals, so that's good. Kudos to them, I guess. The Steelers, Troy Fautanu. with an A minus. I don't have an overly big issue. Um, Troy was one of two players I would have gone with for the Steelers here. Just the other one would have been Brian Thomas, and I think that would have helped Russ a little bit more than Fautanu. That's what I'm going with. But offensive line has been a massive need for Pittsburgh for like the last 3 years, so I have no issues with them filling it. It's a good pick, so I'll give him an A minus. It could be an A, but whatever. Miami Dolphins. I gave him a rough grade for Chop Robinson. I gave him a C plus. I just don't understand when you have Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and Shaq Barrett. Why do you need Chop Robinson? You have so many other problems. Jackson Powers Johnson would have been beautiful here. Quinion Mitchell or Cooper DeJean, I would have liked better. Or even you just get a set defensive lineman like Darius Robinson or Jazon Newton, like someone who's going to stay on the line at all times. You already got, and Chop Robinson I think probably will, but that's kind of the Bradley Chubb position anyway, so I don't know. I don't understand the fit. And there's a couple other players that would have gone over him, so I gave Miami C+. I also do like hating on Miami. Chop Robinson is still a very good player, could prove me wrong, but I feel okay giving him a C+. Philadelphia Eagles fans, specifically the one that's popping up now, who said, oh, the Eagles don't need a cornerback in this draft class. This draft class sucks for cornerback. Well, I'm giving him an A+. I was like, Quinion Mitchell has the potential to be an absolutely shut-down cornerback in the NFL, and going to Philadelphia is just an amazing fit for him. So, there you go, bud. Jaguars, as a perfect result of a trade down, you get Brian Thomas. Trevor Lawrence should have everything he needs. I maybe would have gone Terry and Arnold. But after seeing the Texans' success last year where you just add weapons, give him Brian Thomas. And I have no problems with that. That's an A right there. But speaking of Terry and Arnold, 24 to the Lions, another A. Good trade up. One of the best players still available. Lions needed a cornerback. He's going to fit well with Dan Campbell. Give him an A. The Green Bay Packers, I think this will be one of the more hated on picks in the first round, but I'm going to give it a B+. They needed offensive tackle. I think especially looking to the future, they'll need offensive tackle. I would have preferred Tyler Guyton over him, but I do think Jordan Morgan has the potential to be one of the steals of this draft. He's just an absolute massive human being. And if the Packers develop him correctly, will be amazing both in pass pro and run blocking. And there's a chance he'll end up toward the top in redrafts. Now there's also a chance he's nowhere even near the first round. But I think for the Packers that's an okay chance to take. There's a couple other guys I would have preferred here for them, but in the end, they needed offensive tackle. They got an offensive tackle. We'll call it good, B-. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Graham Barton. I gave him a B+. I like it. I'm still a huge fan of Jackson Powers Johnson, but Barton adds a bit more versatility. He was listed as a center in the draft, and he played offensive tackle this last year for Duke. So he can play all 5 offensive line spots, and that is a great value to have for a team. So B+, I understand it. Would have preferred JPJ. He can play any of those interior ones. Still good versatility, but no problems with Barton. Give him B+. Arizona Cardinals, I gave him a B- for Darian Robinson. I liked Jazon Newton quite a bit better than Darius Robinson. And I thought Jazon Newton would have been a match made in heaven for the Arizona Cardinals in this defense, and probably would have even given him an A, maybe an A+. But Darius Robinson, B-, maybe a little harsh. Still a good player. I just think I don't overly trust his pass rush. I like him as a run defender, but the best running back the 49ers have a good rushing attack, but Kyron Williams is the best pure running back. Oh no, Christian McCaffrey. Oh gosh, that's dumb. Okay, I guess I was like, I'll bump that one up. No, I'm leaving it at a B-. But that one could 100% be bumped up to a B. Wouldn't have any issues. Maybe even a B plus still wouldn't have any issues. Now, my favorite pick of the NFL draft. Kind of. No, it's probably not my favorite. But absolutely hilarious. The Kansas City Chiefs traded up with the Buffalo Bills, who, for the Buffalo Bills, can't beat Kansas City. So they said, here, have our pick. Sure, you get later round compensation, but don't give Kansas City your pick. You can't beat them. Don't give them your pick. I'll rant a little later on. Xavier Worthy, I had my questions with him. If the Chiefs like him, I like him. A+. The Cowboys with Tyler Guyton, give him a B. Could even be a B+, A-, wouldn't even care. I would have preferred them to stay, and I think the grade is more so they didn't need to trade down. Like, sure, it saved them some money, but to me, it reflects more so I don't think Jerry really knows what he's doing anymore, and I question how much longer he will be in charge for. I like Guyton. They needed offensive linemen. They could have gone interior. They could have gone outside. They went outside. No problems. But I question Jerry Jones even more now than going into it, which is impressive. I didn't think it could get much worse, but it has. The Ravens, they get an A for Nate Wiggins at 30. And just like Kyle Hamilton, they drafted a Baltimore Raven. There's no need to instill any of that mental mentality to become a Baltimore Raven. Nate Wiggins is a Baltimore Raven. I was like, he just 100% is. He fits perfectly there. Secondary was banged up, and he can 100% be their top cornerback. So that's a great pick there. San Francisco 49ers, Ricky Pearsall. That's a C. That is, I don't really like any of it. And in all honesty, first, Jackson Powers-Johnson would have been an amazing fit. Start there. Would have been nice if an offensive tackle had fallen too, but didn't happen, so I can't penalize him for that. But yeah, JPJ would have been my ideal pick, first of all. And then second of all, Pearsall was at absolute best, my wide receiver 5 available. I still have guys like A.D. Mitchell ahead of him. Guys like Xavier Legette ahead of him. Lad McConkey, Keon Coleman. And then you can start the debate between him and the Washington guys. But realistically, I had both of them, Polk and McMillan, Troy Franklin ahead of him. Had him in the same conversation as Roman Wilson. I just don't understand using a first-round pick on him. No disrespect. I think he's a very good player. I just think his ceiling's a little limited. And then the biggest question is, what does this mean for their current receivers in Debo and Ayuk, both who have not been overly happy with the 49ers' way of running things. I'm more focused on Ayuk. I think he's more likely to be shipped out, hopefully to a certain team up in the Northeast. But, the San Francisco 49ers get a C. With the last pick grade, there will be one more grade after this one. The Panthers get an A+ for Xavier Legette. Pretty much anybody who traded up with the Bills and drafted wide receiver gets an A+. Plus, I like Legette. Should help Bryce Young a lot. So they get an A+. And if you haven't guessed it already, the 33rd grade, it belongs to the Buffalo Bills. They selected absolutely no one. They get an F-. Because why would you trade up with the Kansas City Chiefs? Why? I don't care if you wanted Xavier Worthy or not. The fact that the Chiefs want him should make you not do everything you can to stop them from getting him. Even if that means drafting him for goodness sake. Say that you need a wide receiver. I don't care. It must be so frustrating to be a Bills fan. I'm loving it, kind of. I don't like that the Chiefs are still doing this well in the draft. I would have preferred if they had to stay put and take Xavier Worthy even there. But yeah, no, the Bills get an F-. I will say my bold prediction right now: Keon Coleman will be the first pick of round 2. I don't feel overly confident in it, but I like it. Anyways, if y'all enjoyed or for some reason stayed to the entire thing, I love you a lot. And please consider subscribing. If we get enough followers on TikTok, Week Moves Media, I will be live streaming round 2 there. But if not, I will be here live streaming it on YouTube. Anyway, see y'all later. Adios.